Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Anita Rani, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you all to the Leeds Royal Armouries. Right, first of all, some general housekeeping. There is no fire drill or fire alarm today, so if the alarm does go off, then it won't be a drill. We will have to follow the museum staff who will lead you out in the right direction. So that's the housekeeping out of the way. Secondly, how to... basically can't deny that I'm in my 40s anymore, so the specs are coming on. Here we go. So, the Great North launched a year ago in this very room in May 2025 and made a commitment to delivering an investment summit for the North. This is the first ever forum dedicated to promoting the North of England collectively. I think that deserves a big round of applause, don't you? And a whoop. So this is in collaboration with His Majesty's Treasury and Office for Investments. The summit responds to growing calls from business and civic leaders for a dedicated, place-led, investor-focused event to unlock the North's economic potential. So here's a few stats for you about the North. 16 million residents. Okay, my country file is pricked up when I saw this one. 5 national parks covering 7,000 kilometres squared. 50% of England's renewable energy is generated by the Great North, and 70% of England's mountains, moorlands and heaths. So there you go, some nice stats. Now, for those of you who don't know my connection to the North, I am Bradford, born and bred. I'm very proud. Come on. How do you know if someone's from Yorkshire? They'll tell you within the first 5 minutes. So my grandfather moved to the UK in the 1950s. My dad was 4. Those of you who watched me and my dad on Race Across the World will have seen my Yorkshireman father thrive in an environment where we had to stick to budget with the catchphrase that very quickly became, "How much?" So my granddad moved to Bradford, worked in the mills. This is a really common story for the South Asian community in the 80s, because a lot of us worked in markets and the rag trade, and my parents set up a manufacturing business. And then his granddaughter, just 2 generations later, finds herself at the heart of British broadcasting. Or, as John Craven said to me, "Anita, we're doing missionary work for the North." I like it. And it does, I must say, give me great pleasure to present Woman's Hour with a Yorkshire accent. 3 years ago, I was given a huge opportunity and a great honour to give back to the city that I'm very proud of being from by becoming the Chancellor of the University of Bradford. But I actually went to Leeds University, which is fine because we're all one North. And I have to say I had the best time in this city, and thank God we didn't have phones with cameras in the 90s. We'll leave it at that. So it is my absolute pleasure to be here, so thank you for the opportunity. You're going to be hearing from some really important speakers. We've got a great few hours lined up ahead, and I just want to say that, you know, this is an opportunity for us all to have great discussions, talk to one another. So every session that will be taking place will be as informal as you would like it to be, because we are the North and we are all friends. So without further ado, let's bring on the first of our speakers. I would like to invite today to the stage Mayor Tracy Braben.
Hey folks, how fantastic to see you, and thank you. And it's great to see so many of you here. And I also want to thank the Queen of the North, Kim McGinness, for leading the charge for the Great North on your stewardship, and of course for NatWest for the sponsorship for this event. So, fellow mayors, leaders, businesses, investors, partners from across the North and beyond, you are so welcome. I'm so delighted to host the landmark moment, the historic moment, here in the heart of West Yorkshire, opening the doors for what I believe will become one of the most important conversations for Britain's economic future. Now, for too long, the North has been spoken about as a problem to be solved. Today, we are flipping that on its head. The North is actually the answer to the UK's productivity challenge, and it's creating the next generation of jobs shoring up our nation's critical supply chains, delivering energy security, showing where return-seeking capital can genuinely find scale and opportunity. Now, if you wouldn't mind indulging me for a moment, I want to talk about West Yorkshire, the region that you're in here right now, because the opportunities seen here are echoed right across the north. Brownfield sites at scale, ready for development, anchor investments from globally significant businesses, world-class universities, research institutions, brand new transport investment, unlocking labour markets that have been held back, as we all know, for decades, unlocked through serious government reform, moving power from Whitehall to locally accountable leaders. Here, we are home to 2.4 million people, an economy of over 74 billion, and the largest financial and professional services sector outside of London. We like to call ourselves the City of London's funky younger sibling. We are the disruptors, the pioneers, and the innovators. We have 7 universities, 7 further education colleges, the largest cluster of higher education outside of London, one of the country's youngest populations, and a stellar capital delivery record, £7 billion of development in Leeds alone over the past decade. But what makes this moment different is not what's happened in the past in the rearview mirror, it's what is coming next. Microsoft chosen West Yorkshire for one of the largest hyperscale data centre investments in the country. The Leeds Innovation Arc, £2 billion worth, a pipeline of health and life sciences development, the largest health innovation cluster in the north. Leeds South Bank, one of the most significant urban regeneration opportunities anywhere in Europe. And underpinning this, the West Yorkshire mass transit system is coming, and it will be a tram, everybody. The largest local transport project in the country to reshape how people, talent, and ideas move around our region. These are not aspirations on a slide deck. They are live opportunities, committed investments, scalable in a way that few places in the UK can match. And versions of this story are replicated in Greater Manchester, in the North East, in Lancashire, across every single part of the North. For example, Liverpool City Region and Greater Manchester delivering transformational growth in advanced manufacturing, digital technologies and life sciences. The North East leading on the clean energy revolution. And across the North, we are at the forefront of the UK defence with excellence across South Yorkshire, Cumbria, Lancashire and elsewhere. And so many more. And that's the point. This summit is about something bigger. Through the Great North, we as mayors have built a partnership that speaks with one voice to government, to investors and to international markets. After today, when investors look at the North, they won't see fragmentation. They'll see a coherent, connected economy of 16 million people, 8 mayoral combined authorities, world-class universities, leading positions on AI and clean energy, advanced manufacturing, life sciences, the creative industries through the Great North Creative, backed by government with all the institutional capacity to deliver at scale. So today is historic. It's the moment that we collectively put that offer on the table, and the size of the prize is immense, and I know we are all ready to grasp it. Lastly, before I hand back to Anita, can I just say thank you to all of you for being here today, particularly our investor partners. Thank you for being part of this historic new chapter. The conversations we begin here will shape the next decade of northern growth. The North is definitely open for business, and West Yorkshire is proud to be hosting the start of the next chapter. Please have an inspiring and productive day here at the Armouries. Fittingly, the first national museum to move its HQ out of London, right here in the heart of Leeds. So, as I see you all around over the next few days, please come say hi and be part of this extraordinary historic moment and the story that the Great North is coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Braben. Thanks, Tracy. I'd now like to welcome Paul Thwaite, CEO of NatWest and our headline sponsor for today's event.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Tracy. And good afternoon, everyone. It won't take long for it to become pretty obvious that I grew up in Liverpool. And doing so in the 70s and 80s means I saw a local economy need to reinvent itself. In the 90s, I moved to Manchester, and as a student there, saw it become a cultural powerhouse built on creativity and on new industries. And through my career at NatWest, I've seen millions of customers across the north turn their ambition into action. New ideas, new businesses, and new growth. Only this morning, I met with our customer Iliad, a high-growth business based minutes away in City Square, and I saw that entrepreneurial spirit in action as they developed new AI-led payment strategies and winning global business from here in Leeds. And I don't underestimate the very real near-term challenges, but I've seen firsthand what the North is capable of, and I'm confident that it is one of the most compelling places to invest in the UK today. Because across the North, you can feel something building, a concentration of ideas, of talent, backed by growing confidence and, importantly, ambition. And I agree with Tracy. The North should not be thought of as a policy challenge to be fixed. The region is a growth engine driven by innovation, scaling businesses, and sectors that compete on a global scale. And of course, our story has deep roots. The North has always been at the heart of the UK's economic strength. From the Industrial Revolution, when growth was driven by decisions taken close to industry, to the infrastructure that connected regions and unlocked trade. As a bank, we've been part of that story too. In 1891, before my time, we helped finance the Manchester Ship Canal, backing one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects of our time. Because even then, growth depended on two things: local ambition and the capital to deliver it. That remains true today. What's changing is how that ambition is expressed through metro mayors, combined authorities, increasingly acting as the economic architects of their regions. And that's why fiscal devolution matters. Because this isn't just an abstract policy debate. It's not simply about rearranging responsibilities. Research shows that around 2/3 of business leaders believe giving regional leaders more control over funding decisions would increase investor confidence. And a similar proportion say they would be more likely to invest locally if regions had stable, long-term funding settlements. So this is about more than governance. It's about turning good ideas into investable propositions, which is why I think the publication of the North Investment Prospectus today is so important. Creating the certainty in the pipeline that capital needs in order to flow. And when you combine local decision-making with real financial power, you create the conditions for growth to accelerate. We know that growth doesn't come from capital alone. It comes from building the right ecosystem around it, the skills, the support, and the pathways that help good businesses start, scale, succeed, but importantly, stay. That's why we're investing in innovation right across the North. Through our accelerator hubs in Leeds, Manchester, and Newcastle, we're supporting entrepreneurs to turn ideas into scalable businesses. Through specialist services such as our intellectual property lending and our venture banking presence in Manchester and Leeds, we're helping high-growth companies access finance that reflects the value they are building and the expertise they need to compete globally. And through new partnerships with universities such as York, we're helping turn world-class research into real businesses. Because our role isn't just to finance growth, it's to connect the capital with the local ambition and help scale it over time. And we've been doing that in the North for many years. Today, we support over 4 million personal customers across the region. We bank around 230,000 businesses here from small firms to mid-sized corporates to major corporates. So we are deeply embedded in this economy, and that place-based approach really matters. Because as many of you know in this room, the economy of the North is not uniform. It's a set of diverse, high-performing regional economies, each with its own individual strengths, whether that's Manchester's digital and service economy, York's research and innovation base, Newcastle's energy and life science clusters, Sheffield's advanced manufacturing, or the thriving fintechs here in Leeds. Understanding those differences and backing them properly is what drives real growth. And that's why partnership matters. We're working closely with the Metro Mayors and the combined authorities here today, aligning with their strategies and helping bring capital to where it can have the greatest impact. Because growth depends on strong local foundations, homes that people can afford, transport that connects people to opportunity, and infrastructure that helps businesses to succeed. We're a major financer of social housing, supporting the delivery of homes and communities at scale. We support transport and infrastructure that connects towns and cities and unlocks productivity. And we are backing the transition to more sustainable, energy-efficient systems, from retrofit to clean energy and electrified transport, because they are the fundamentals that underpin long-term growth. And today, we're taking that further. We are announcing a new £20 billion commitment to support the investment being planned by combined authorities across the north of England. Over the next decade, this will increase our lending and help mobilise additional capital into the region. Because what we are seeing is a growing pipeline of investable opportunities across housing, transport, energy and wider infrastructure. Delivering those opportunities at scale will require deeper public and private partnerships between combined authorities, governments, partners like the National Wealth Fund, the British Business Bank, banks and long-term investors. That's why we want to play a leading role, helping turn regional ambition into investment delivery and long-term growth. And we're already seeing what that looks like in practice. In the North East, we're supporting Teesside-based 13 Group to retrofit their portfolio of social housing properties, benefiting thousands of customers by making their homes more energy efficient. Here in West Yorkshire, we're backing Leeds Bradford Airport to deliver its long-term growth strategy while undergoing a transformational regeneration of its terminal, enabling the airport to expand passenger capacity by 2.5 million to around 6.8 million passengers by 2030. Different places, different sectors, but the same momentum. Of course, we recognise this year brings its own challenges as households and businesses navigate uncertainty. But as a bank rooted in these communities, our job is to support customers through those pressures, because long-term growth depends on resilience in the short term. But when you take a big step back, the direction of travel is clear. The North has always been a centre of industry and innovation. Today, it is becoming a centre of modern, scalable growth. And with fiscal devolution on the horizon as a multiplier for investment, with strong regional strategies in place, and with capital flowing more effectively, the momentum is only getting stronger. The North isn't a future opportunity, it's a growth story happening right now. And our job, as a bank, as partners, as investors, is to back it. With conviction and with partnership, I've seen and I know what the North is capable of, and I believe in its future. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And now, just to reiterate why we're all gathered here, here's a brand new film.
Welcome to the atom-splitting, steel-forging, culture-shaping, green-powered North. We're the history-defining home of locomotion, the light bulb, and the Industrial Revolution. Maybe you've heard of us. So many pockets of brilliance. So many sparks of inspiration, a shared identity, separate strengths. Now, we're no longer a scattering of iconic, innovative towns and cities, and stretches of sublime and resourceful coast and countryside. Now, we are one, whole, united. North.
We are better positioned now than any time in generations to take control of our own destiny and to power growth in this country. This is the North coming together. We have our individual strengths. And you know what? We will always be competitive with each other, but we are more than the sum of our parts. Together we are mighty.
And when we speak with one voice, everybody listens.
We're continuing to drive investment with our commitments to the Northern Growth Corridor.
Northern Powerhouse Rail will be the shoulders of this nation's rail network.
The Great North is getting stronger. The Great North is where exceptional things are happening. Harnessing the innate confidence of centuries of rich cultural and industrial heritage. This is a movement built on belief, powered by people.
Good. Genuine question though, does this mean that we have to put to bed the great kind of right side of the Pennines, wrong side of the Pennines that's been going on since the War of the Roses? I'm not sure I can give that up quite yet. Anyway, on to our next guest. I'm delighted to introduce to the stage North East Mayor Kim McGinness, Chair of the Great North, or as Tracy described her, Queen of the North.
Thank you so much. What a week. What a week and what a time to be speaking about Northern ambition. Now, if you are here today and you're thinking about investing in the North, I'm just going to do what Northerners do. I'm going to cut to the chase and just say, you should. Like NatWest have. Follow their lead. Because you know what? We are no longer settling for a gradual process. And you know what? Maybe we never did as the North. But for a long time, gradual was what was on offer from our over-centralised, London-centric country. And so we didn't have a choice but to go with it. Those days are over. Gradual change is not our game plan anymore. What you are seeing in the North now is genuinely the start of something really radical, something really different. We're changing the way that this country's run in the interests of the people that live here, in the interests of the people who invest here. Now, don't get me wrong. We have not torn down the barricades and the revolution is not finished. But everything is in motion, and it's Northerners who will provide this country with the drumbeat of economic growth. Already, over the last 2 years, we've seen more than £60 billion committed to the North in government funding and private sector investment, and you can add NatWest money to this from today. That's forging a new path for trains, turbines and trade. But it's not just that thriving economic opportunity that unites the North. What you get from us is pride, visible, unmistakable. People choose this Northern life. They want to be part of our Northern story. Now look, the North is not without our challenges. We know exactly where that investment needs to urgently go, but our ambition is vastly superior to our challenges. It drives results, and never have those results mattered more than they do now. This week of all weeks, I don't need to tell you that our politics, not just in Britain but across the West, is in a prolonged crisis of trust, because the fact is that people simply do not feel heard. Mayors, like those that founded the Great North, are a solution to that challenge, part of the solution anyway. For you, knowing who to pick up the phone to if you want to talk to the North East or you want to talk to West Yorkshire or Greater Manchester. But also, let's face it, being able to vote in or out one person who actually has a real ability to bring investment and create jobs locally, based on local need. It's a radical shift in the way that people access power in this country. Growth, jobs, delivery, that's why we're here. That is our Northern story. The prospectus that we're launching today genuinely presents a new age of ideas and opportunity. At the heart of our plans are the strengths that at first appear to define the North. AI growth infrastructure, energy superclusters, but actually, when you look at these assets as a whole, you realise that we're not just a Northern powerhouse, we are Great Britain's powerhouse. A North made up of 15 million people who export £100 billion in goods and services every single year. This is where momentum lives. On transport, on energy, on identity, the North shows that what happens when you turn ambition into delivery. Look at Northern Powerhouse Rail as the first example of this. For years, the North experienced a public transport crisis that just steadily got worse and worse and worse, and all the while it was entirely unnoticed by decision makers in London. So what did the North do? We united, we forced action, we made it so we could not be ignored any longer. We ensured that those in power acknowledged that a transport system in the North being left behind without the progress we deserved was a national emergency. And just getting by is no longer good enough. And so what happened next? Train companies responded, government responded. The Northern Powerhouse Rail Plan shows what happens when the North forces action. We see more of that ambition in our future to lead the way, to set the UK standard as we look at clean energy. Right now, our northern coast, both on the east and on the west, as Anita said, uniting across the Pennines, is going through a jobs boom. There is nowhere like it in British industry. Take the politics out of it. Put aside the chat about net zero if you want to, or the obvious fact that in a time of global uncertainty, renewables are the path to security, or what it does or doesn't do to bring down energy bills. Forget all those arguments, and what you are left with is thousands of jobs and an investment opportunity like nothing else. Renewable energy is a new era for the North, an era that will be as totemic to our identity as shipbuilding and mining was. And right now, there are companies across the planet looking to the north of England and our energy investment potential. And I know that from meeting some of them myself face to face, just like other mayors have. And I'll tell you now, as bluntly as I can, while America under Donald Trump is turning its back on green energy and the jobs it brings, the people of the North will take them all with open arms. And that's just the wind turbines. Tidal power, hydrogen, nuclear, the North is the UK's energy story. Together we provide 60% of England's renewable energy. The days of us waiting for trickle-down investment for London are at an end. And the wisest firms here will see how things are going and they will back us now. But nothing, nowhere, tells the story of a North greedy for success more than culture and sport. Now, I love a little trip to London, don't we all? And I'm sure that quite a few of you have come here from London. But it could never be home. And honestly, I don't think it's any longer the home of UK culture, and I don't even mind saying that to Sadiq. The North has got so much more energy. You can feel it in our music. You can see it on our screens. It is visceral. We love to tell our northern story, and there's no one better to do it than local talent. And it's not just a good night out or a gig that you'll remember forever. This is jobs we're talking about, it's growth. Several northern mayors have now come together to launch a northern music export office. And honestly, I don't know how we haven't done it before. Because British music is northern music. And all right, you get some good pop songs from London, but the soul comes from the North. We know it. I think the world knows it. History tells us. And now we're going to maximise it for the next generation. And honestly, I'm so passionate about this. I love our northern culture so much. It's a bloody miracle that I got through that whole section without talking about Sam Fender or Oasis. So why is all of this happening? Why did we finally get a plan for rail, a new round of offshore wind leasing, or a northern music export office? We got it because we refused to limit our ambitions. People said, be realistic about what the North can do. This is what realistic looks like. And that brings me very neatly to Brendan Foster, who's in the audience today. Because nothing says ambition like an Olympian. And we've got one of those in our ranks as mayors too. It's why we're so proud to have him as the founder of one of the founders of the Great North, alongside being the founder of the Great North Run. Northern ambition knows no bounds. Which is why the North is proudly uniting behind a bid to host the Olympic and the Paralympic Games. Some people will say this is too ambitious. Well, it isn't. Because we are following the exact same method that keeps getting the North what it needs. We see a problem, we find an opportunity, we unite, we make it so that people cannot turn us down, and then we run with it until we deliver. So, when you hear a phrase, take back control, look at what is happening in the North. And see that mayors are combining delivery with ambition, and we are rebuilding trust. That's why I'm so happy that we're already making incredible progress with our Olympic ambitions. Only a year ago, the North got together and said, this needs to happen. And now we've steered government our way with a feasibility study to be carried out looking specifically at a Great North Olympic bid. And that really is the story of the North. Delivering today, preparing for a stronger tomorrow, taking back control. And I'll end here with a look to the future, because the next chapter for the North will not simply be about investment. It'll be about people feeling that they have control of that investment. Whether it's better railways or thriving high streets or, dare I say it, publicly controlled utilities, a vital thing that people locally feel they have a say over. With a mayor, you have a delivery vehicle with take back control built into it. And my message to government is to be much bolder while working with us, to reshape this country, to go further and build a local voice into our economic model, into government. Just look around you in the North and see what devolution has achieved so far. Our rail plans, our clean energy boom, the cranes in our sky, the businesses choosing to invest and grow here, and this is only the beginning. So thank you so much for being a part of it. And now, it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage a man who you've probably seen in the news a little bit recently. I don't think he's wearing his shorts today, but I'd love to welcome Andy Burnham, Mayor of Greater Manchester.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good to be in Leeds. Nice to see you all. And thank you, Kim. Amazing speech and lovely introduction. It's good to join you at the Great North Summit to reflect on the progress we've made together in the last decade, our first decade of devolution in the North, and also to set new ambitions about where we go in the next decade. We are the Great North. We are on the way back, but we all know in this room we can be even greater. And that's what we're going to be. That's our mission, to make it so, to revive it, reindustrialise it, and celebrate that newly resurgent north of England in the spotlight of the world's attention at the 2040 Olympic Games. Where are you, Brendan? No pressure, but we're counting on you. Oh, you will. You certainly will. But you've put us in an amazing place. You gave the mayors the ambition to start thinking this way, and here we are. Here we are. It's brilliant. And thanks to the government for their backing for the idea. And it can happen. It can happen. It is possible. But only with big changes now to the way this country is run. And that's what I want to talk about today. As you've probably worked out, I think you know where I'm going now, don't you? Bakerfield is no ordinary by-election. I'm getting plenty of advice about what I should do. The main piece being, for God's sake, get some new running shorts. If you've got any, Brendan, send them my way. I believe the by-election is very necessary. In my view, the time has come for a much bigger debate about how politics needs to change if it is to work properly for the north of England, because it doesn't. It doesn't. And this is what we've got to focus on. People are losing faith in politics. More than anything, that's what people's votes were saying on Thursday, the 7th of May. They deserve a bigger response than politicians have given them before. And that's what I intend to provide in this by-election like no other. My core argument is this. Britain, if you look at the last 50 years, Britain has been on the wrong path. 40 years. 40 years on the wrong path. A path that has damaged communities across the north. The deindustrialisation of the 1980s was devastating for places across Makerfield, like Ashton in Makerfield, Orrell, Winstanley, Hindley, Plattbridge. But you know, you could reel off the same place names, couldn't you, in your communities? You know exactly what I am talking about. The draining away of economic, social and political power from these places, left adrift. That's what happened. But that deindustrialisation was then compounded by deregulation, privatisation in the 90s, and austerity in the 2010s. It all adds up to 40 years of neoliberalism that have not been kind to the north of England. 40 years of trickle-down economics that did not, in the end, trickle down very much at all to Plattbridge or Hindley. In fact, that system has siphoned wealth out of those places and into the hands of people for whom life was already very good. It created an economy that didn't work for most working people. It led to the loss of good jobs, the decline of our high streets and the neglect of our towns. It led to people paying over the odds for the daily basics, energy, housing, water, transport. And in the 2000s, and particularly in the 2010s, our councils across the north of England were stripped of the resource and power to do anything about it. They just don't have the agency that they should have to protect people from these changes. And that's the broken state of local government in England that we see right now, but is particularly felt in councils across the north. You know the truth of what I'm saying. It's left us in a very bad state. If politics can't fix something as simple as a pothole, you've got a very big problem. Why should people have faith in the ability of politics to do anything if it can't do something as simple as that? And how unfair is it on those councillors who work hard in their communities and then just get swept away because of the failure of national government to protect local government and give them the ability to make basic improvements in their communities? It's not right. It's just not right. It needs saying that it's not right, and I'm here to do that. We just need a completely different relationship between national and local government. What we've got at the moment across large parts of the north of England, as good as the last decade has been in terms of the start we've made with devolution, underneath the combined authorities, sadly, we have hollowed out councils and we have an unaccountable state where too much is delivered by arm's length or outsourced agencies that local councillors can't control. So many crucial services, like housing and energy, delivered by fragmented agencies outside of local democratic control. Let me give you a couple of examples. In recent times, we have experienced severe repeat flooding in Plattbridge, Bickershaw and Ashton. Caroline Simpson, Group Chief Executive of the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, answered a call from myself as Mayor and Josh Simons as local MP to get the agencies around the table. And we had to move heaven and earth to get that single conversation going. And a plan to deal with it, which we're still waiting for. It shouldn't be like that. We had to confront them with difficult questions like this. Why don't the rivers and brooks around this part of the Wigan Borough have gauges so that people get a warning of a flood like they do in other parts of the country? Some of our more deprived communities should be at the top of the list for funding to make them more resilient. And the truth is they're at the bottom, with no accountability about how that money is allocated, no real accountability. And the voice of those places is just simply not heard in the same way as others by those unaccountable agencies. They were not told, quote, will give you whatever money is needed, and it will be spent, as Mr Cameron once told the home counties when they flooded in the 2014 floods. Another recent example has been the huge illegal waste dump in Bickershaw, which the authorities initially refused to shift, even though they had done so in the same circumstances in Oxfordshire. These are the things that need to change. If politics can't fix these things and can't deliver fairness across the country, equal treatment, it's no wonder that people lose faith. It's no wonder that things start to fragment. And this will threaten devolution in the north of England. If we have a toxic politics underneath the combined authorities, in the local authorities, local authorities are not able to do the basic things. We've had to support Trafford Council this year because of a poor national settlement. And it's just not how it should be. Local government should be given the funds it needs to discharge its statutory responsibilities, but it often isn't given that funding to do that. And this could threaten devolution in the north of England, because the foundations upon which it is built are the local authorities that are the members of those combined authorities. And we really need to use this moment to tell some home truths to people in Whitehall, because it really can't go on like this. I want to say sorry to the residents of the Makerfield constituency for the circus that is about to arrive in town and some of the inconvenience they will experience as a result. But on the other hand, I want to say this to them as well. I hope you feel it's a good thing as well that the places that make up this constituency, long forgotten by national politics, finally are at the centre of the national debate. And for the places of this constituency, again, you could read many other similar places in yours. Let's get them at the top of the agenda for the first time in a very long time. And that's what this by-election will hopefully succeed in doing. My plan for Makerfield will be ambitious, and it will show how we lift up its people and places over the next decade. It will involve action to make the basics of life more affordable, like rents, bills and fares. All rail stations and services in Makerfield coming into the B network and leading to a big reduction for people in the cost of public transport and the cost of travel. It will involve the reindustrialisation of our part of the world, for instance, through the work I'm doing as Mayor to bring modern manufacturing to the PPG site in Hindley Green. Changes to education to make technical education the equal of the university route and give young people new paths into good jobs. How wrong it is that for the best part of 30 years now, the debate in education has all been about the university route, and the whole system has been built to support the university route. What about those millions of kids across the north of England who want technical qualifications, who want paths into good jobs and support to get to those jobs? What about them? Who has been speaking for them and their life chances in recent decades? They've been written off. They've not featured in the national political debate. That is one of the things that this by-election is going to change, because I've been speaking about them. I will continue to speak about them and their aspirations and their life chances. And that is a big way in which politics needs to change. Not just sending messages into the middle ground of voters, but speaking for all people, and particularly kids, who most need politicians to focus on their life chances, which is what we've been doing in Greater Manchester. Thank you. I will make the building of more council homes part of my Makerfield plan, building on my work as Greater Manchester Mayor. And I want to come back to where I started with, how do we make this work? And then how does this become a template and a settlement that works for all of the combined authorities in the north represented in this room, doing great work. And as far as I'm concerned, on the same path as Greater Manchester. We're all working more and more together, and summits like this bring out that collaboration. And I think we can all go so much further in the next decade if we're set up to do so. We've proved the concept, haven't we? We've proved it works. We have proved that we are doing more for our communities than Whitehall ever did for us. They never even had an ambition for the different parts of the North. It took devolution to give us the ability to set an ambition and then to go towards it. But think about what we could do more with a more determined approach in the next decade. The things I've just outlined will only succeed with serious rewiring of this country to transfer power and resources back to local areas. And that's what I want to do if I am returned to Parliament. It depends upon maximum devolution of power and resources from national government to local government. And I want anyone, obviously, from the national system to really understand that. We can't have this halfway house anymore, where something gets devolved, but none of the people get devolved, and they sit there marking the homework of the combined authorities and finding new ways of putting pressure on us to do something that they want. It's time to trust the regions of this country, free them up, let them get on with the job. It means less delivery through unaccountable national agencies, and it means more things coming under local democratic control, like our buses. We can't go on with a bloated national state and a malnourished local one. It is time for public servants to be transferred into local authorities and combined authorities to give them the capacity and the agency to get things done. This is how we underpin the next decade of devolution in the north of England. It's the type of change I want to see for the people of Makerfield. The positive energy it will unlock will be huge. It will bring people back together, get places like Makerfield working, and move us beyond some of the divisive debates of the last decade. My view is that Brexit has been damaging, but I also believe the last thing we should do right now is rerun those arguments. Britain will be stuck in a permanent rut if we're just constantly arguing and people are pulling away from each other. It is time, surely, isn't it, to bring people back together, to focus on what we've got in common, to get the growth coming to all places so it's felt there. That is what we need in this moment. And it's really important that whatever comes out of this by-election, there's a more kind of unifying feeling about the change that we need to work towards. I am not proposing that the UK considers rejoining the EU. I respect the decision that was made at the referendum, and it's going to undermine everything I've said about strengthening democracy if we don't respect that vote. If we are to unify communities and the country, it means focusing on the big economic challenges we have, the structural problems that I've been talking about before, the fact that we gave away so many of the levers of economic power when we deregulated and privatised. That is a problem. You know, we don't have control of the basics and the cost of them, and therefore we don't have control of public spending. If local authorities are facing the cost of temporary accommodation and the benefit system is chasing rents in the private rented sector, as we are right now, how can we control our costs as a country? It is about getting a fundamental grip on those things, and that's the main thing that matters. We need a relentless domestic focus in this period. Let's fix our own country. Let's get it working again. Let's get it back to where people want it to be. I sense a real yearning out there that people feel, why aren't we where we should be? Why aren't things just working as they should? And that's what I think has to be our focus now, fixing the fundamentals of our own country rather than plunging into another divisive debate about a relationship with other countries. But I do support what this government is doing in driving for a stronger, more collaborative approach with Europe, our closest neighbours with whom we share so much. So, in conclusion, everybody, I decided to put myself forward to bring this debate to the fore. Too much of what we need to change is in the hands of others. The North doesn't have all of the control that it needs to turn things around, to turn around the lives of our people, to give new life to our towns and our high streets. We just don't have it. And if we're to take what we've done in the last decade and then go further and deeper in the next, there's going to have to be a serious transfer of power and resources right across the north of England. The places where I grew up, long ignored by national politics, are finally at the centre of the nation's attention. And I can't tell you how proud that makes me feel. And I was growing up, I saw them go into decline. I was at school in this area when the mines were closed and industry closed in the 1980s. And they've just not recovered any time since. So to have them now, through this by-election, under the spotlight, that does make me happy. Because the people there can now rightly demand of Westminster, Whitehall and all of the political parties, what are you going to do for us? And they all have to answer that question now because of this by-election. And then the public will be able to choose between the answers that they are given. And that's how it should be. We're putting power back in their hands. And people need to justify what they believe to the people of these communities. All of the parties standing in this by-election need to set out clearly how they would change things to change life in Plattbridge, Abram, Bickershaw, Hindley, particularly those parties to my right who were all cheerleaders for the Thatcherite policies which laid us low in the first place. Will they now disown them? Apologise for them? We'll be waiting to hear. I am clear about what I am offering. If I get to stand, a vote for me will be a vote to change Labour, because Labour needs to change if we're to regain people's trust. It'll be a vote to make life more affordable again, a vote to power up places, a vote to re-industrialise. This is the choice in this by-election. Do you want Makerfield and the North to stay on the same path it's been for the last 40 years? Or do you want a new path which brings the country back together and makes it work for everyone? I know why I'm standing. I know what I'm offering. I know what my party has offered in the past has simply not been good enough. The loss of faith of voters across the North, so many of whom once saw us as their natural party, is our fault and nobody else's. I want to help fix that, and I hope people will give me the chance to make that case. Thank you very much indeed for listening, everyone. Thanks very much.
Thank you to Andy Burnham, the Mayor of Greater Manchester, and also to the Mayor of the North East, Kim McGinness, before him. So that brings us to the end of the opening session. It remains for me to invite you to one of these 3 breakout sessions, and I'm sure you'll enjoy any session you pick. And then we're all going to get back together here at 3:15 for the In Conversation with all the mayors and leaders, and an address from Dan Tomlinson, MP, Exchequer Secretary, to the Treasury. So enjoy your